Go.
I'm here with Doris Gottlieb of the Netherlands. Doris is an organizational development, an organizational breakthrough consultant. And I'm just delighted to have you here, Doris, and to be talking with us for the purpose of the film and for others to be able to participate in your journey a little bit. And right now we're going to be talking about whole person process facilitation, which is a methodology, and you have some experiences with it.
Yes, and I thought maybe a good thing to say, but I have some experiences with it, and what happened is that in the Netherlands, I was really lucky and happy and honored that Sabine Bredemeyer, another colleague, came and she gave a BPPF workshop. Actually, because I was interested, I called her up and said, do you do BPPF workshops, or do you do genuine contact workshops in English in Germany? And she said, no. And I said, oh well. And but she said, but if I have, I have a couple of, if you have a few friends, I'll come. And we decided on BPPF. And that turned into the decision to bring all the workshops to the Netherlands. And we had 3 times had BPPF workshops.
Oh.
Yes, and the fun thing about having them 3 times is that I've been there as a sponsor 3 times, and I have now taken the BPPF workshop 3 times with Sabina, and each time it's been really different. Yes. And it's been such a wonderful addition to my own sort of toolkit and way of working and approach, and also to some of my colleagues in the Netherlands, and that's just been wonderful to watch. So that's what I wanted to tell you about.
Okay, well, the first thing I want to remark about is every time somebody takes this whole person process facilitation workshop or teaches it, there's changes in learning, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that. It just keeps adding somehow, and I've never figured out why that's so. But maybe it's because each time you're a bit different when you take it, or something. So it's like taking a brand new workshop each time.
I can tell you what my experience was about that, which was that because of the people in the room each time, Sabina was more or less focused on different things, and we were more or less focused on different things. So there was a real contact and a real interplay between the people in the room and their needs and what the facilitator was offering. And it was very clear to me to see that, especially because I took them 3 times, pretty much like I think I took them 3 times in 9 months or something like that. So I had lots of an opportunity to see that. Whereas in the first group, certain things came up. In the second group, something else came up. And the very last time, it was a very small group, but all of us had working relationships with at least 2 other people in the room. So it was a training about BPPF or a workshop, but at the same time, it was an opportunity for us to do team building, which I think none of us had actually realized until we got there. So to deepen our understanding of how the other works and sees and what they bring, and what their different learning styles are and what their different possibilities are. And that was really interesting.
I'd like to pick up on 2, it's many important things, but 2 both the points that you were making. And one is, when we are brought in and somebody says, oh, can you do team building? I always like to bring in something where team building is a byproduct. Why focus on team building that might or might not be sustainable, but focusing on some other business goal or some learning together, and then if team is a byproduct, then the client has a whole lot of benefit for one investment. And so what you were underlining there was taking the whole person process facilitation workshop as a learning for its leadership development, it's how to facilitate meetings and so on. And while taking it with others, team development occurred as a byproduct.
And the reason why we did it with one of the people, I worked with 2 young men in a program developing mentors in university, and one of them was stepping into a new role, and we thought, well, he needs to learn the way that we facilitate. So really the only reason for him to come was so that he could understand about facilitation. And what it did was create an incredible opportunity for all of us to learn together about each other's skills. So yes, it wasn't even in our minds. So that's exactly what happened.
great. I've experienced that with a lot of teams. I like very much that you happen to talk about that. And the other point that you made, which is a very important one to me, is yes, we wrote the Whole Person Process Facilitation workbook. Our people who do training with our work have ended up being authorized trainers of our work. They've made an investment of themselves to learn. And then, despite the workbook's a resource, but they each teach in a way that is unique to themselves within a whole person process container. All of our workshops are taught within that container or operating platform. And very early on in the workshop, one of the exercises is to do hopes and fears of the participants for the workshop. And then, as you mentioned, Sabina Bredemeyer, who's a very skilled trainer, she immediately readjusted everything that she was doing in relation to the needs, the expressed needs of the people who gathered, still within the bigger container, and the container has enough flexibility so that, and the workbook has enough flexibility so that each of the 3 experiences ended up being customized based on the hopes and fears of the participants. And that, you don't know that what you're doing is saying, yeah, Sabina did real good here. It's like when you're asked, what are your hopes and fears as a group, and you actually say them, and then a trainer just goes on and does what they want to do anyway, then it becomes, why have shared, why have been genuinely me? But when you say the hopes and fears, and even though the trainer has done a lot of preparation to come to the event, and then the trainer adjusts everything to work with those hopes and fears of that group, it is an experience of real genuine contact, and I think trust gets established in that process.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's been something that I've been transferring to all of the work that I do, even when sometimes I can't do it in a whole container of whole person process facilitation. Working with hopes and fears is always something that I do, and taking them seriously also as a group. So it's been wonderful. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Can you tell me just a few things, if you have any at the sort of top of your head right now, or top of your heart, I should say, around what you've watched other participants do with their whole person process facilitated training?
Yeah, I think there are many, but maybe a couple of things that really happened that were interesting for me. One is with a friend of mine who is a very, very experienced trainer and actually thinker in the Netherlands about group dynamics and group processes. And she actually came to an open space training, I just say as a short aside, because she had been to many open spaces that she didn't like, and I kept talking about what open space was for me, and so she came to the open space training and decided that was really wonderful and decided to come to the BPPF training. And one of the insights that she got, and I know from the work that she's done since then, was things like, we worked with the grief cycle, she could explain the grief cycle, she could tell you many things about it, and she sat down and she said, I never realized that people are always in grief. I mean, of course I realized it, but I never really realized. And I never really understood the impact of that. And of course now when I look at, for example, resistance, I can think about the grief cycle, which I know she's done in her work. So this was one person who really, she made a shift in her work. Another person was a colleague of mine who works inside a company, and she was during the training, quite sort of, let's say, fighting with all of the things in the workshop, so engaging, they're like, is this right, is that? And she had to do a very big team presentation or team meeting after the training, after the workshop, and she told me she went home, she sat down, she went through the entire workbook again and said, there are so many things here I can use. She convinced her colleague to work this way, and one of the things that she did is she got so excited that they convinced the manager to work in a partial BPPF format, and these were people who usually work with PowerPoint presentations and no discussion. And it was one of the first times they had a meeting that was really, really effective. And I know from her, in terms of, let's say, not really effective in terms of having the team connect, which was what she had hoped would happen. And I know from her that there are many times she'll come back to me and say, well, I went here and basically I just did, there's an exercise about think of an animal and what would that animal tell you? And she's doing that with everyone all the time, everywhere, amazing results. And, or bringing in objects and doing things. And when she told me about this, she also said, I'm amazed because sometimes, there was always this doubt and then people do it and then they have these amazing things that they tell you about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So that was really, I think, very much a breakthrough for her. And there have been really very beautiful things. And for myself, after doing these workshops, I redesigned a training program that I had for mentors. And we did the workshops, the introductory, it's really a training because they have to learn what it means to be a mentor. And we actually held it for 4 days in BPPF. Mm-hmm. And there were several amazing results about it. One is these were with young people, so in their 20s, where people said, oh, they can't take decisions themselves, they don't understand stuff. Well, they do. Of course. And they did. And working the way that we did, where we let them have so much freedom, where we gave, I think for me also one of the essences of Genuine Contact Program, and also that to just trust in their wisdom, no matter what happens. They ended up figuring out, what does it mean to be a mentor? We didn't tell them. They ended up figuring out, what does it mean to take responsibility for another group of people? We didn't tell them. And at the very end of this 4-day workshop, where they had planned to have a certain kind of structure, they were all going to work on a computer and they all were going to have to go into a certain room. 20 minutes before the end of a 4-day workshop, the administrator came in and she said, oh, you can't use the computer room. And they had planned everything for using the computer room. We have to do it differently. And she started coming up with a very complex idea out of the goodness of her heart, but it wasn't a good idea. It wasn't connected to the people. Yeah. And there was like, oh no, 20 minutes, what are we going to do? And in those 20 minutes, all of a sudden, the members of the group stood up, there were 24 of them, and someone said, I'll do this, I'll do that, They figured out the most elegant way of doing this. And then the woman who was the administrator said, okay, I just need to write down the names because they would work in groups. And someone said, no worry, I have it. And she gave it to her. And I thought, okay, we've done something good here.
Very good.
Yeah. That's
a wonderful example.
Yeah.
Because it is about results, it is about effectiveness in the end, but it's getting there in a different way.
Absolutely, and results that I have to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure if I had done this in my own traditional way, that would never have happened. I wouldn't have let it happen. So that would never, because we just stepped back. All we did was sort of mediate and say, wait, did we hear this? Wait, can somebody, hang on, 2 people at once,
Okay.
And they solved the problem, and that was very, very meaningful. So.
And you have come a long way. Thank you, Doris.
You're welcome.